Good afternoon. Well, almost afternoon, Melissa. I
Yes,
guess still
yes.
morning here. And Happy New Year. Can you believe we're already in 2024?
I cannot quite. Nope.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to even fathom how we got here already. So hey, I know we haven't talked in a couple of weeks, but there's been a lot of good stuff going on as far as interest rates. But first, I know that the Feds met, and so let's quickly talk about what has happened there.
Yes. So they met, they did not raise rates. They indicated this was probably the top of where they were going to land for their rates. That led everybody to get very happy. And we actually had a really nice rally in mortgage rates the last couple of weeks of December. We got down to probably 6.375 was about as good as we saw for conventional rates. Um, Unfortunately, since then, the Federal Reserve Board members have come out, done speeches, and most of those speeches have focused on the fact that we are not in the clear yet. We are not going to start dropping rates immediately. We've got to wait. So that has kind of tempered some enthusiasm. And then basically all of the economic news that came out this week was a little bit better than projected. So, like, for example, the jobs numbers that came out today, there were more new jobs created than the Federal Reserve, well, than was expected. And that lets the that just reinforces the position that the economy is still doing well. And we're not in a position yet where we can just take our foot off the gas and start dropping rates. So at this point, there's a 6.5% chance that rates will drop in January. So basically zero. And then about 70% that they'll do their first cut in March. So maybe that's when we'll see it. 100% chance that they'll do a cut by May. So we think probably sometime between March, April, May is when we'll see them actually start cutting rates. Now, obviously, things can happen in the meantime that could change that, but that's currently what the outlook looks like.
So I heard that the feds were planning on projecting to cut the rates 3 times this year. And just curious what your thoughts are on why they decided to slow it down again. Is it because we saw for instance, we saw such a huge ramp up in buyers getting pre-qualified for mortgages, and they thought, well, here we go again, or was it?
No, I think it's more just the fact that all of the inflation numbers are going in the right direction. So there's nothing that indicates that inflation is turning around and starting to get higher instead of continuing to get lower. But all of the other economic news indicates that people would likely have more money to spend because there are more jobs being created. Wages are continuing to go up. Now, productivity has also gone up, which should tie to higher wages. So that's in line with where it should be, but it's still better and not worse. And so that leads the Federal Reserve to be concerned that inflation will start going up instead of continuing to trend down. So I think that's what's caused it. It's not, I love the special guest. It's not that we actually have seen anything that indicates that inflation is getting worse. And that some things that the Federal Reserve has no control over, like oil prices, have continued to cooperate, and that helps a lot. And there's no avian flu this year, so eggs are cheaper. So some
Yeah.
of the stuff that caused this problem are not even Federal Reserve related or can't be
Right.
the Federal
Right.
Reserve. So they're just being cautious, and I do think they're like throwing some cold water on people's excitement, and they don't want things to overheat and improve so quickly that we would see inflation numbers just turn around and start getting worse.
Right, got it. So in talking about that, I just mentioned that rates came down significantly. I think in the last couple of months, they've come down from 8.2 or something like that down to in the low sixes.
Yeah.
Um, so let's quickly talk about what that means to a buyer. What kind of money savings just on that 2% price decrease, interest rate decrease.
So an 8.2 rate, someone's buying a house for 500,000, putting 10% down, assume they've got good credit. So that 8.25, their payment with taxes and insurance, and this is Dallas market. So keep that in mind. But $4,833 a month. So if we drop that rate down to where it was last 2 weeks of December in the low sixes, so almost 2 full points lower, that's a $4,100 payment. That is $700 less a month. That's huge for people's confidence when they go out and start house hunting. I mean,
Uh-huh.
now where we are with rates at about 6.7, that payment would be about 4,300. So still significantly better. So I feel like we are seeing the market turn right now just based on people seeing rates in the sixes instead of in the eights or sevens. It's
Mhm.
just psychologically so much better.
And in reality, a 6% interest rate is really pretty normal interest rate, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess people are just getting used to it and realize that that 2 and 3% interest rate will, if it ever comes back, but most likely
It
some
will
some
only
crazy phenomenon will have to happen. Yeah.
terrible has happened. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's a new year. It's a great time to buy. We're seeing more buyers come out early this year. We're also seeing more sellers talking about putting their house on the market right now. So I guess if somebody's on the fence about shouldn't I mean, get in. Well, especially for buyers, get in. Well, it's this short time frame where there's not as much competition, and
I
especially if
hundred
as interest rates continue to come down.
Yes, I think if we get a little bit more of a reprieve here with the interest rates, like staying in like the mid sixes, I think honestly for buyers, that's a blessing. Truly, because I think we get into the low sixes and the spring market, people start every year, March, April, May, it gets really busy and it's going to get very competitive. So I think the next 2, 3 months are probably the best months of the year to be a buyer.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yep. And buyers need sellers, so so
Yes, they do. And how are listings coming along?
so I mean, I have several, almost 13, 14 listings in this first quarter already, and which for me in this market is kind of like unheard of. But so uh,
That's
people are raising their hands. Yeah, more people are raising their hands right now. So especially now that they know buyers are actually coming out, they're more willing to put homes on the market so that they don't have to. I don't think we'll ever see that, or at least not anytime soon. We'll see several multiple offers, thousands and thousands over asking, as it gets more competitive,
yeah.
you may get one or two, three offers, but I honestly don't, with these interest rates, I think it's going to be more of a level playing field across the board.
I think so too. And I think that that's ultimately good for everybody. I mean, it's nice. I think the last few months have been kind of tough for sellers with the amount of concessions they've had to give. Now it's been really good for buyers. And I don't think buyers have realized how good it is or has been and probably will be for the next couple of months. But yeah, I think it's going to be much more even or like tilted in favor of the sellers.
Sorry. So yeah, I actually, probably 2 weeks ago, I have a friend who has a client that she was able to get her buyer like right at a 4% from seller's concession. So it was really good. So, okay. Well, I think we've covered everything, all the good news, the bad news, and everything else.
Everything.
Is there anything else that we need to know?
Not really. I think I'm hoping it stays about where it is, kind of steady in this mid to we're a little closer to 7 than to 6 at this point, but still if we're between 6.5 and 7, I think that's good. And just buyers need to know that if interest rates change every day and they're able to lock in a rate once they're under contract, And you can always refinance the rate that you're in when rates drop to the point where it makes sense to do it. So.
Right, and we're looking hopefully to the 5.5%, 6%. We'll see.
Yeah.
Time can tell.
And that's definitely the projection for within the next 2 years, is that we are back in the low fives. So.
Good, perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. And thanks for the great information. And I guess we'll talk next week. Have a
Yes.
great week.
Sounds like it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, bye-bye.